Today's lesson was on absolute value and order of operations. So here's a quick review of what we went over in class. Our learning targets today were computation with addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and absolute value and exponents. So we've spent a couple days on that. We're adding the absolute value in there today, and then order of operations. So what is exactly the order of absolute value? Absolute value is the distance a number is from 0 in both the positive and negative direction. We talked about that distance is always positive. Therefore, the absolute value of a number is always positive. So no matter if you're headed in the negative direction or the positive direction, your distance you are moving is always going to be positive. The symbol for absolute value are these two straight bars, okay, with a number or variable in between it. So in problem number 1, it says the absolute value of 10 means how many units is 10 from 0. So if you think of your number line, if this is 0 and this is 10, how many units did you have to move over? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it would be a positive 10. Same thing with our number line if we had negative 15. Here's 0, here's negative 15. How many units did you have to go over to get to this negative 15? And remember, our distance is 0, so our distance here would be a positive 15. I mean, our distance is positive, not 0. What about 400? Absolute value of 400 means that that number is 400 units from 0. And negative 60, again, we would move still in the negative direction, but it's going to be a positive value of 60. So notice again, absolute value does not change the already positive number to a negative. The absolute value number is always, always, always positive. So if we take a second to evaluate these, always look at your absolute value first. So what's the distance of negative 15 from 0? We would say it's a positive 15. Once you take the absolute value, go ahead and drop those bars. Then we would say plus 8. And then, I'm sorry, this is a positive 15. And then we would say 23. So again, always look at your absolute value first. So absolute value of negative 80 would be a positive 80. And then you take what you haven't used and bring it down. So we have a 10 and a minus. Okay, so our negative 80 turned positive because of the absolute value. We bring down our negative, and 10 minus 80 is negative 70. Again, look at your absolute value first. The distance from 0 to negative 14 is a positive 14. Then you bring everything else down you have not yet used. Okay, 5 squared, if we follow order of operations, which if you don't remember, we'll get into in a second. 5 squared is 25. And then 14 plus 25 is 39. I apologize, my allergies are really bad today. When we have fractions, it's the exact same thing as whole numbers. So again, we always look at our absolute value. So the distance from 0 to 2/3 is a positive 2/3. And we add 1/3. So if we remember what we did the other day, our bases are the same, so we can keep that. And you add the top numbers. And then we always look to simplify, which this would give us 1. And again, here we have negative 1/4, which the distance from 0 to negative 1/4 is a positive 1/4, times 4/3. So we can multiply straight across, so that would give us 4. And then across the bottom, which would give us 12. And again, we can look to simplify, which 4 goes into top and bottom, so we would have 1/3. Number 10, again, you would always take the absolute value first. So the distance from 0 to negative 3/8 is 3/8, and then divided by 3/5. Now, if you remember, we did this on our calculators yesterday. So go ahead and in your calculators, I want you to type parentheses 3 divided by 8 divided by parentheses 3 divided by 5. And that should give you 5/8. Five-eighths is your answer. Now that was absolute value. We're going to add in order of operations. So if you remember order of operations, it's parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Now we line these up where our multiplication and division are next to each other or on top of each other, and our addition and subtraction are the same way. And the reason we do that is because we can interchange the order of those, okay? So multiplication always does not have to go first, okay? Now we're going to solve a couple problems by substituting that value in for the variable and then continuing using order of operations. So wherever we see a variable, okay, in this case it's in the absolute value, so we do not have to put parentheses around it. I'm going to add my 8 there. And we would take the absolute value of negative 8 first. So you would say 8 minus 2. The absolute value bars are like grouping symbols, so you can, after you take the absolute value, you can change them to parentheses, okay? Because you still need that number to be multiplied, right? It's multiplied between these two. You need to keep it as multiply, okay? And those parentheses will show that it is. Okay, then we're going to do multiplication. So 8 minus 16. And then since there's only one operation left, it's 8 minus 16, which is negative 8. Number 2, wherever you see a variable, you're going to put parentheses unless it's inside the absolute value bars. So here we have x is 2, so wherever we see that x in the original problem, we put parentheses. So we're going to fill in the 2. So again, take your absolute value, which is 2, bring down everything else you have not used, and then follow order of operations. We do have parentheses, but there's no operation in it, no addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division, so we can just move on. We have no exponents, so then we would go to multiplication. 4 times 2 is 8, minus 2, right? So no division, no addition, let's go to subtraction, and this gives us 6. Again, wherever we see an x, we're going to put parentheses. In this case, we're going to put a negative 5 in there, okay, because it says when x is negative 5. Here we have no absolute value bars, so we have to follow our order of operations. PEMDAS. Okay, no parentheses besides our negative 5. We do have exponents, so we're going to have to do the exponents, and it's whatever it's attached to. So we talked about this yesterday where those parentheses are important. So we have to keep a multiplication symbol in between them, and then negative 5 in parentheses squared should give you a positive 25. And then minus a negative, remember when we have two negatives, it turns positive, so we can change that to a plus. Here we have multiplication and addition. Well, multiplication comes before addition, so we would do 2 times 25, which is 50. And then add our last step, which is 5. So our answer would be 55. Again, wherever we see that x, we're going to add our negative or parentheses. And in this problem, we're substituting in negative 2. So again, no parentheses, but we have exponents, and they are in parentheses, so include that negative. So it's 3 times 4 plus 1, or 12 plus 1, right? Because you have to do multiplication before addition. Always follow PEMDAS. And 12 plus 1 is 13. Operations that have the same priority, so we would say multiplication and division, meaning they're interchangeable, or addition and subtraction, are performed from left to right. So if we have a problem that is only addition and subtraction, only multiplication and division, then you always have to move left to right, otherwise it's going to give you the wrong answer. So what we mean by that is, notice in number 6 we only have subtraction. We would solve this moving left to right. So you would do your first operation that you see on the left first. So 18 minus 5 is 13. And then again, bring down everything else, and then you go ahead and do your last operation, which is 13 minus 6, which your answer is 7. Same goes for when you have multiplication and division. You again would work left to right. So the first operation you see is 2 times 12. And then, okay, so you do that, which is 24. Bring down your divided 3 because you haven't used that yet, and then go ahead and do this one, which your answer is 8. Although when you do not only have addition and subtraction, but you have this division in the middle, that's what you're going to have to do first. So even though we don't have parentheses or exponents, we do have that division, right? So we're going to have to do division first. So bring down everything you haven't used and then perform that division. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. Now you only have addition and subtraction, so you're going to move left to right. So we're going to do 6 plus 2 first, which is 8, minus 3, bring it down, which is 5. Okay, so a couple of these are a little bit more tricky, so we're going to go just a little quick through them, but just hang on. It's going to be a wild ride here. So we have square root of 81, and in your calculator, if you want to do square root of 81, it should give you 9. Okay, you can do this division right away. 28 divided by 4, which is 7. So now you have 9 minus, and I get the minus right here, 7, and then you have that to be 2. Okay? For the next one, you have parentheses. So you have to do what's inside those parentheses first. So you have 2 minus 4 squared, right? Because we didn't use the square yet. Now you have 2 times negative 4 because we performed what was inside the parentheses squared. So the next step is exponents, e, and we're going to do this operation here. So negative 4 in parentheses squared is 16, positive. And then you multiply, which is 32. I've said that our absolute value bars are like a grouping symbol, so treat them almost as parentheses, okay? So you're going to have this 2 minus 3 times, do your absolute value, so the distance from 0 to negative 4 is 4, plus 3 squared. Okay, again, you look for exponents, so we have 3 squared, and we'll do 2 minus 3 times 4 plus 9. Okay, and then we look here. Do we have multiplication or division? We do. 3 times 4. So we're going to go and say 2 minus 12 plus 9. And since we only have addition and subtraction, you work left to right. If you put that into your calculator, you're going to get negative 1. When you have a fraction bar within your problem, always simplify the top first and the bottom and then divide. Okay, so 5 plus 3 is 8. And then 4 minus 2 within our absolute value bars, we have to do what's inside first, would be 2, right? And then you take the absolute value, so 8 over 2, which gives you 4. Okay, same thing here. 14 times 2 is 28. But we have to do order of operations, so we'd say 8 plus something minus 1, and that something is 49. And now we can work left to right, so we'd say 28 over 56. which when you simplify is 1/2.